Hi, I'm Karen Kubicko, and welcome back to Discovering Your Past Lifetimes, the path to your inner transformation. And this is the most important module that you can listen to for this entire course. Trusting your intuition. So intuition is something people talk about, maybe psychic sense, sixth sense, that type of stuff. It's where it's beyond the things that you physically see, hear, smell, and know. It's beyond that. Psychic abilities is another way of talking about your intuition. When you're a child, children often use their imagination. But guess what? Imagination is practice for using your intuition, because sometimes when you are receiving information that is intuitive guidance in some kind of way, you might think it's just your imagination, but sometimes it's literally guided information to help you in your daily life. Let's use an example. You're at the grocery store. Everyone has to go to the grocery store. And you're walking down an aisle where it's all the baking items. So flour and sugar and all that type of thing. And you walk through there and you're like, well, I don't need any of this. But then you get a message in your mind and you're like, yeah, I probably should get sugar. And you are like, nah, I don't think I need any sugar. And you go home and you don't think anything of it until the next day. And you're in the middle of making something and you need a tablespoon of sugar. And you open your cupboard and you're out of sugar. And you're like, I should have picked that up yesterday. Your intuition was giving you guidance and you didn't pay attention. If you'd have listened to your own intuition, you would have picked up the sugar. You would have made whatever it is that you're cooking the next day. And that tablespoon of sugar was ready for you, and you would have been like, well, that was pure luck and coincidence that I picked up that sugar. Was it? Or was it your intuition? I'm going to go with intuition. So that's just one example of a way that you can use your intuition all day, every day, for whatever it is that you're working on. So when you are trusting your intuition, you might receive it in any way. And this is so important for when you're remembering a past life. When you're in a past life regression or a guided meditative state, that theta state that we talked about already, you might receive information in a variety of ways. The example I like to use when I'm explaining all this is a horse and wagon filled with hay. Now that's something that's common throughout thousands of years, especially in past lifetimes. So a horse and buggy or horse and wagon comes up. So when you're remembering a past lifetime, you might start to see a horse and buggy or a horse and wagon filled with hay. But whenever you're seeing something, it's going to look like you're looking through fuzzy binoculars. So the first thing that you see might be just a little bit of hay, or a wagon wheel, or the horse's head. You might see a little part of all of that, and it's kind of fuzzy. It's not real clear exactly. Or if I'm suggesting, take a look at the clothes that you're wearing. You might see tan material. You might see brown buttons. You might see it kind of fuzzy like. That's completely normal. So I want you to think about it. If you're watching this video on your phone or on your laptop and you're focused your vision on that specific thing, everything around your phone and your laptop is fuzzy. It's in your peripheral vision and it's out of focus. It's just really amplified when you're remembering a past lifetime. So when you're looking or seeing something, it will feel like you're looking through fuzzy binoculars, especially if it's close up. Now, if it's in the distance, you might see the entire panorama. It's no different than if you look out your window and you see a whole panorama of the landscape, the city, the whatever it is that's out your window. You can see a lot more of it because you're not looking at something that's so close up. Does that make sense? So that's a natural part of us seeing. Now, there are some people, and I have to say, probably 20% of the time, that they see the entire panorama, the entire vision of, like, they're standing in the same room with you and are aware of everything around them. Kind of like they're watching or actually immersed in a movie of the memory. But that's not usual. So trust that you're receiving that knowledge by seeing it, but only in that little weird kind of way. And that's perfectly normal. The second way that you can receive information using your intuitive guidance, truly, when you're remembering a past lifetime, is by smelling things. You would be surprised at the amount of people that have smells come through so strongly. Now, if you've ever read anything about this, smells can come through as strong memories with lots of things. So you might have a fond memory of grandma making chocolate chip cookies, and you can still smell the smell of those cookies baking in her kitchen. Or you remember a great aunt and the smell of her perfume. And that might be a sign that she's around watching over you, because all of a sudden, out of nowhere, and she's passed on the other side, mind you, you start to smell her perfume. That's intuitive guidance that she's around you. That smell of perfume. That's receiving that information. It's no different than you're remembering a past lifetime. You might smell bread baking. You might smell a dish that's cooking on the open fire. Or you might smell the smoke. You know, it's all that information is coming through. Trusting that you're receiving it is what's so important. You also might hear things. So back to the horse and wagon filled with hay, you might hear the horse neighing. You might hear people talking. You might hear the wheels spinning on the wagon and actually hear that moving down the road. And I want you to be open to receiving messages from your spirit guides or an angel or even a past ever person while you're having a past life regression experience. You are able to connect to the other side. And so when you are having information come to you, you might actually hear words, like a message from somebody. Or if you are speaking to somebody else that happens to be part of your past life experience, you can actually hear their words. Hi, my name is John. And then you hear him say, hey, Mary, or something like that. And then you know what your name is in that past lifetime because you've heard them speaking. Or you might hear a crowd or gunfire or music in the background of whatever lifetime that you're entering. You might hear drums playing. There's so many things that you can hear, even a bird as it sings, as it's sitting in the tree or flying overhead. All those things are important. However you receive it is what matters. Now let's talk about feeling. Feeling is another way that you can receive information when you're remembering a past lifetime, but it's also an intuitive ability. So a lot of people that come to me have a very strong feeling sense. They might not see or hear anything, but they might feel like a horse and wagon filled with hay is over here. They might feel like there is a city over this way. They might feel like there's an angel standing behind them. They don't see it or hear it, but they just feel it. It's kind of different when you are being stared at. If somebody is sitting a couple rows behind you in the movie theater and you feel like someone's staring at you, you can actually feel it on you. And you feel like there's someone staring at you. That's the feeling sense. That's intuitive information that somebody is staring at you. That is kind of how it feels when you feel like there is a horse and wagon of hay over here, and you feel like there's a city in the distance over here. That's that feeling sense. You might feel like there's a group of people over here, and you might feel like someone you just love and care so much about is standing right in front of you. So being open to that. Now, sometimes people call the feeling sense empathic ability. So you might also feel emotion of the experience that's happening, especially if there's some kind of emotional thing happening. So if you're in a room and you are remembering a past lifetime standing in this room, you become aware of the sadness or the happy laughter that's happening in that situation. You can feel those emotions. Or if you're in a war situation or you're super scared about something, you might feel those emotions. So that's another way to feel things, the emotion of it. And then there's a third way for feeling. You might physically feel you are sitting on that hay in the back of that horse and wagon, and you can feel the ba-bump as you go down the road as you're traveling. You might not see the hay, you might not see the horse and wagon, but you feel like you're on the horse and wagon. You can feel that hay scratching you as you sit on it. You can feel the movement of the horse going down the road. You might feel someone holding your hand. You might feel someone touch you on the shoulder. You might physically feel that. Now, I have to mention this. This doesn't happen very often. It's a very small percentage of the time. But sometimes people actually feel the trauma of their past life death. But if the trauma of the past life death is this much, you feel like this much of it. You're just aware of like a pressure on your hand because someone's grabbing you. You might feel the pressure of something happening to your chest if you got shot. But here's the thing. If there is any imminent danger to your person, now this is for anything, in this current lifetime, in a past lifetime, if there is any danger that's going to happen, your spirit part of you jumps out of your physical body and you never experience that pain. So that's no different than if you had somebody that you knew pass away in a traumatic way, like a car wreck or something like that. It's guaranteed. They are jumping out of their body before the impact occurs and not experiencing or suffering any of that pain that might have, in our minds, we think that would have happened. It's no different when you're remembering a past lifetime and a trauma is imminent, whether you're going to get shot or something awful is happening to you. You are jumping out of your body and then watching what happened to your body and not feeling any of that pain. So just to give you peace of mind on that. But once in a blue moon, it does come through where someone's remembering something and they're like, wow, that kind of hurts. And, you know, maybe something happened to their hand or their arm or something like that. And it's part of their death experience or something. Then just be aware that it's just a tiny little bit of amount. And it's really such a small percentage of people that have that experience. So feeling is a big part of how you receive that information. Now, if we're talking about intuitive abilities with a feeling sense, you can empathically feel somebody else's emotions. No different when you enter a room and you're like, wow, everybody's like nervous, or wow, everybody's so excited. Kind of like that crowd feeling when you're at a football game or a baseball game or something. People get so excited when they score. And so you feel that. But you can also, you know, feel when someone's staring at you, that type of thing. Or you get feeling like even more than the regular person, where you might feel empathically that they're going through something that's emotionally challenging or something along those lines. So those are other types of ways to connect in with somebody on an energetic level, really. But you are connecting in with the emotion of what's happening, or even their physicalness. Maybe if something's hurting them, if they have a headache, you might pick that up or feel that in some kind of way. And there's a whole lot of information out there for empaths. If that is your psychic ability in this current lifetime, really go search out some more information on how to work with that. The number one thing that I tell people to do is to ask the question, is this mine? Especially if you're an empath, because you don't want to pick up other people's headaches and things like that, which can happen if you are empathic. But the feeling sense is a great way to connect with those that love and care for you in this current lifetime and when you're remembering a past lifetime, because then you can feel that warmth and that yumminess in your heart and really connect in with how much you cared about that particular person or your child or whatever that comes through for you in a past lifetime. And the last psychic intuitive way to pick up information, whether for this current lifetime or when you're remembering a past lifetime, is a knowing. So with the horse and wagon filled with hay example in mind, you might get a knowing. You didn't see it, hear it, or feel it, but you just know there are 14 horses and buggies lined up down the street. The horse with a wagon filled with hay is right here. You're in the middle of some kind of market square, and there's hundreds of people around. You don't know how you know, you just know. It's kind of no different than if you look at an old photo of yourself dressed in this cute little outfit from a long time ago, and you're standing in the middle of your living room. In this photo, you see a lamp behind you. You see you in your outfit, and that's it. But you get the knowing that your mom bought you that outfit. You get the knowing you broke that lamp. You get the knowing that you ruined the shoes that you were wearing in that photo like 2 days later. And you get the knowing that you dressed up in that cute little outfit because you were going to some special event. That's a knowing. So when people are remembering a past lifetime and are in that past life regression state, that knowing starts to be so important, because if you are remembering and seeing this horse and wagon filled with hay, you get the knowing that you're traveling. No one's telling you. You're not exactly sure why you're on that wagon of hay traveling, but you get the knowing you've been traveling for days. You get the knowing that you're going to some place that's by the seaside, and all that information is coming to with no effort whatsoever. That's the knowing sense. So there are specific words that describe each of these intuitive abilities. I don't usually use these words because, we're psychically seeing things, we're intuitively seeing things. Rather than saying, I have clairvoyance or you have clairvoyance, you might have to go look that up or whatever. So I tend not to use these words, but I thought it'd be helpful for you now. Clairvoyance is the psychic ability to see. Clairaudience is the psychic ability to hear. Claircognizance is the psychic ability to just know something. Clairsentience, or empathic abilities, is the psychic ability to feel things, whether it's emotions or otherwise. And clairalience is the psychic ability to smell things. So like if you smelled your great aunt's perfume and she's on the other side in heaven and you happen to smell that scent, or the cookies baking that connect you to your grandmother baking in the kitchen, even though none of those smells are around you, then you're using that psychic ability to smell. And so one final part of using and trusting your intuitive abilities is telepathy. Telepathy is the mode of communication on the other side. It is the use of all those intuitive abilities, those psychic abilities. You're getting that information with thoughts, feelings, seeing, words, whatever, however it's meant to come to you in some kind of way on an intuitive level, that communication is telepathic. So for example, if you are speaking with somebody and they are talking about an experience that they had and they're describing a smell, or they're talking about a whole experience of, let's use grandmother baking cookies again, because that's kind of fun. The whole experience of their grandmother baking cookies. You start to smell the cookies, you start to see the kitchen set back in the 70s with the green refrigerator front, and you knew that her baking pans were well worn, and she kind of was bent over with babushka on or something like that. And so all this information wasn't part of what your friend was telling you about, but you were getting all that information. That's intuitively, telepathically being able to see or know the information beyond what your friend was explaining or telling you. That's telepathy. It's no different than if you pick up your cell phone and you hear your phone ring with a text and you don't even look at your phone, but you already know it's your mom texting you or your friend texting you. You can feel it, or you get a knowing, and if you practice enough, you can guess, intuitively guess, so you're really not guessing, but intuitively get the information that that message is from this particular person, and you can even get a feeling on it, like it feels like they're excited to tell you something, or it feels like maybe they have some bad news, they can't go out tonight with you, or something like that. So you can pick up who is sending it to you and the vibration or the feeling of what that was about. It's no different than if you pick up the phone and you already know who's going to be on the other end. You're using telepathy. It's very cool. It's another way to encompass all those intuitive abilities that you have innate within you. You're born with them. It is how everyone communicates on the other side. And why it's so important is because when you are interacting with anyone on the other side, you're going to start to notice they're not really moving their mouths. You're getting that information, especially if it's an angel or a spirit guide. They're giving you that information, and you might hear it, you might visually see it, like they're showing you something, might get a knowing on they just care so much about you. You might feel the love they have for you deep within you. All that information is coming to you, but they haven't spoken a word out loud for you to hear it in that kind of way. Does that make sense? So it's so important to trust however you're receiving any information when you're remembering a past life. But cool that you can use it anytime at your regular waking moments throughout your life, during the day, at work, and even at the grocery store. So now I want you to take a moment to write down however you normally receive any intuitive information, whether you're seeing it, hearing it, smelling it, knowing it, or feeling it in some type of way, so that you can better understand what your intuitive abilities are. So grab your workbook if you've printed that out, or grab a notebook to write that down to help guide you in understanding more about who you really are as this beautiful spiritual being. Thanks so much for taking this journey with me and figuring out and understanding more about your past lifetimes. Okay, now it's time for you to find a place, a nice quiet place where you can be undisturbed, relax, feel peace and at ease, to help you listen to this next guided meditation, to help practice your intuitive abilities, and maybe to figure out which ones that you are fantastic at. And then join me for the next module in this class, allowing versus trying, and learn what that's all about.